What's up, guys? Pure Muscle Radio. This is episode number 7, and today we got on Frank McGrath. What's up, Frank?
What's up? Hey, guys. What's going on?
The Wrath.
Yeah. You know what? There used to be a big thing that they used to fight about. They said my name was supposed to be Wrath, and then people would call me The Wrath. And I remember the people at Animal used to freak out and get mad at me all the time. It's not The Wrath, it's Wrath.
Yeah, they're the ones that gave me Wicked too.
Oh, was it? Oh, yeah. Everybody gotta have an animal name. Gotta have an animal name.
Yeah.
Dorian, what was yours?
Well, I already had one, right? So they just sort of rolled with Heavy D.
Oh, okay,
You know,
yeah. True,
I think by the time I got there, it was like 2014, and I think by that time it sort of like the whole culture sort of started shifting. Where before that, I think it was like that whole brotherhood and the form. It was more hands-on, and I think I sort of missed that portion of the era where they're given the nicknames and so
yeah.
They gave me that shit for the forum.
Yeah.
And they were like,
yeah.
You got to participate in the forum, and it's like I hated that more than life itself.
I
hated that.
Same. Because crazy. you had to do a certain amount of posts and stuff, and it's like sometimes I had nothing to talk about, or if nobody asked you a question, it's like you got to come up with something.
It was funny too because back then I even asked Eric when I don't know if he's still at the brand or not, but he was like, I was like, man, I really don't want to fucking talk about sweet potatoes anymore and like any of that shit. Like these kids are asking me questions like they can find information from that about that anywhere. I'm like, can I have a section of this forum where I just talk about whatever I want? I'm like, I can talk about juice, I could talk about whatever, like crazy shit. And he's like, no, I think that's, and like nowadays it's like everyone does that shit. I was like, why are you guys like behind the 8 ball on this? Like everybody's fucking already talking about it.
Yeah, back then you couldn't talk about anything. It had to be all,
Yeah, like Animal Cuts got me ripped for my show. Like, right.
It's funny. all of us were actually with Animal at some point.
Yeah,
that's funny.
Yeah, true. Yeah,
and true. Eric Schwartz actually works for GAT now, and I think he's Regan's athlete manager.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, Eric's awesome guy.
Yeah, he's awesome.
G Diesel's awesome guy too.
Yeah.
I just remember back then I was just like, man, like fuck, let us talk, man. Like, you got some of the strongest fucking dudes in the world, like in the cage doing like fucking massive lifts, and you're trying to convince people that like Animal Pack got them to do that. It's like I remember being in the cage and watching fucking like Sam Bird no hand squat like 6 plates.
Yeah, that was
no hands
nuts.
on the bar. That last cage I was at the Arnold, he did that with like no fucking hands. I was like, holy God, dude! Like, who is this? It's not even a human.
Dude, I've seen so many crazy stuff in that cage. It was unbelievable. The guys like, what's his name? The Ant.
Yeah, Richard Hawthorne. I was just about to say him.
There's no way this guy's lifting up that weight. There's no fucking way.
He had the braids, right? Long braids.
I watched him with my own eyes at that. It was the same year, I think 2011 or something. Yep. And when he pulled 8 for like 3.
Yeah. And he weighs like 150.
He was supposed to pull it for like 1, and he just was like, "Fuck it, I'll do 2 more." And I was like, that was the craziest thing I've still ever seen to this day. Is someone doing that.
No, you know what? The craziest thing I ever saw. I'm not trying to get off topic here, but it's like in the cage. But 2 guys, what were their names again? They were doing a deadlift competition. So it's like rep for rep. One person would do it, the next person would do it, and keep going until someone couldn't do anymore. And it was like 6 plates or something, 7 plates. I don't know what it was. It was some crazy number. And it got to like 50 something reps. And it was like one guy had his skin ripped off his hands, and he kept going. Like there was no skin on his hands, and he kept going.
Yeah.
And I was watching this, and after it was over, the other guy went to the hospital.
Fuck. I can't relate to that.
No. I mean, dude, I'm sure we've all trained pretty crazy, but that was just like on our level. I don't know what they were taking that day.
Yeah. Was it Bobby that did that? Bobby Fields? Do you remember Bobby? He had the glasses.
No. I know Bobby. I remember Bobby.
Yeah.
No, it was. The worst thing is most times I only remember people by their Instagram name or their animal name. Like. It's so weird because that's all I ever knew them. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I follow both these guys, and I just can't remember their real names right now. Like, I feel stupid.
Yeah. No, it's okay.
Yeah. Anyway, but those guys were crazy.
That's crazy. Yeah, you were there for a long time with Animal, basically since the beginning of your career, right? What year did you first sign with them? Was it right when you turned pro, pretty much?
I turned pro when I was 25, and I think I got my contract when I was 26.
Yeah.
First bodybuilding contract I ever had. And, you know, he wrote me and was like, you know, pretty much, hey, we want to pay you to take your picture. And I'm like, what? Pay me to take my picture? I mean, I work out anyway. I'm doing the same shit I always do anyway. And I was a bouncer at the time working in Newfoundland, in the clubs and stuff. Like, I was like, damn, I'll take this. No problem.
Yeah. Wow. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's nuts. Was it like, so did Animal just reach out to you, or did Ed Connors like know them?
Oh yeah. I did what show was it? Toronto Pro. And I think Ed Connors, who's one of the owners of Gold's Gym, sent my picture to Animal and said, hey, look at this guy, you know, whatever he said. I'm not sure what he said to them. And then they reached out to me.
Okay,
and,
so this was basically, you got your pro card, and the next year you did the Toronto Pro.
Yeah.
And then it was around that time. At that time, though, the Toronto Pro, it wasn't actually in Toronto, was it? Wasn't it in Niagara Falls?
No, it was in Toronto.
Oh, was it? Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was 2004.
Wow.
Yeah.
Crazy. I wasn't even really into bodybuilding at that time. I didn't.
You're just getting out of high school, buddy.
Yeah. I was still in high school. I was still in high school until 2006. Yeah, 2006.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
It's funny that you mentioned Ed Connors, because I remember I had called you one time, and he had reached out to me, and
so he made you call me.
No. I called on my own because that's the funny thing. I had no idea who the fuck that was. I was like, this guy got my email, and he wrote me, and he's like talking to me. And I'm like, who the fuck is this guy? Like, and how did he find me? And I remember I think I called you, and I'm like, who is this guy? You're like, oh, he's cool. Don't worry. And I was like, yeah, but like, what's going on? I'm like,
yeah.
You know,
seems too good to be true, right? He's such a nice guy.
I just had I was just like completely blown away that one, he knew who I was, because I have no idea who he was.
Yep.
And I was like, how did you even find me? I was like, I think it was on Facebook.
He's so
or something.
like, dude, even with the gym here, when he found out what we were doing and the community, everything we were doing, he was like so helpful. Always wanted to give advice. He even came down before we opened.
No.
Saw the gym. Yeah, he's been he's an awesome guy.
Even for me, like I was like the first time I ever went to California was when I was 23, and he actually flew me down. And I went, trained at Gold's Gym and stuff like that. And same thing, I was like, who the fuck is this guy? Like, what the fuck? Like, this is not normal. I'm from Newfoundland, in the middle of nowhere. Why would anybody want to help me? I'm nobody, right? Yeah. And he actually flew to Newfoundland to meet my parents from California. That's across the country.
It's crazy.
And so then my parents met him and said, okay, not that I was a kid, but I was 23 years old. And I was, told my parents, and they were like, oh, we don't know who this guy is. We don't want you to leave him. To another country. The farthest I ever went before that was Halifax.
Yeah.
Newfoundland to Halifax. That was
Oh my gosh.
I went to California.
East
was
Coaster.
my second flight I ever took. My second flight ever was to California.
Wow.
And I remember I got down there, and I remember Mike Matarazzo called, and I answered the phone, and he's like, "Is Ed there?" I was like, "No, he's not here." And he's like, "Who are you?" And I was like, "Frank." And of course I know who Mike Matarazzo is.
Yeah.
And he's like, "You must have big arms, because you wouldn't be there if you didn't have big arms." Or something like that. And I was like, he's like, "I guess so. I mean, not bad."
Yeah, that's hilarious.
He was telling me when I was like interacting with him back and forth, he's like, "Oh, based off of your structure and your face shape, you should have like your hair should be this long, and you should this and this." And I'm like, "Buddy, that's cool, and I appreciate it, but this is not growing back." I was like, you can think it could be whatever length you want it to be, but this shit's gone, bro.
Yeah,
was like,
same thing to me. Like,
it's missing the patch at the back, so it's gonna look a little weird when it grows on the front.
That's funny.
Yeah, I used to try to help with everything. It's like at first I didn't listen as much as I should have, because of course I'm a stupid kid and I wanted to do what I wanted and stuff like that. But he had some good advice, just that it's you don't know until you're older. Like, holy shit, I should have listened, because he's just trying to help you. He was telling me like winning competition wasn't everything. Now look at the way things are now. You don't have to win a competition to do anything. You could be popular, make tons of money, all this stuff. You don't have to even compete.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, he had a lot of experience, right? He had a ton of experience.
Yeah.
He'd helped a lot of people in the bodybuilding community, the wrestling community. So he had a ton of experience.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool. I think that was the first time you ever met Antoine. Was it through? I think it was through Ed Connors as well, right?
Yeah,
I was in.
I was in Palm Springs, and I think Antoine was like 20 years old or something, and there was a couple of houses we were staying at there, and like Antoine came over to the house that I was staying at, and
well, Ed sent him over, right? Ed was like, "Oh yeah, this is Frank's address. Go say hello."
Yeah, and he comes over. I don't even know who Antoine. I don't know if I knew who Antoine was at the time. I don't remember. And he just knocks some two kids knock on my door, and I'm like, I just wake up, just getting up in my underwear, like, hey, who the hell is at the door?
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, Ed told us to come over and talk. And I'm like, okay, come on in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Crazy. So what's going on now? Where are you at, and like sort of everything going on? Like, how's your training going? You know, you've been in the industry now since. So you got your pro card in 2004, right?
2003.
2003. So here we are, 18 years later.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm still kind of into it. I mean, I haven't competed since 2015.
Yep.
And made a couple changes since then. You know, left Animal, was with Redcon for a little bit, and now I'm with HD. And actually, I told people, that's all we knew already, the reason I left Animal was to be, you know, with you guys, with HD.
Yeah.
The main reason, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of people don't. I've always got that question, like, for years. Like, people would ask me to go on podcasts and stuff like that, and, hey, we want to know why. And I just said, you know, I'm going to wait until I'm ready to say why I left. You know what I mean? So,
did we ever officially, like, tell that story, like why you left Animal?
I think we might have done one on that one episode we did on YouTube.
Yeah,
maybe we talked
right.
about it a little bit. We talked about it.
Yeah, that's right.
Because I had people going, "Oh, Animal let you go," and I was like, "No."
Yeah,
they didn't let me go, but just time for something new. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was something that we were sort of working on quietly behind the scenes for a long time, and we were always talking about. And then, you know, by the time you moved back to Canada, you know, we had moved forward with the gym first. So you took a short-term contract with Redcon until we were ready to launch HD, right? So, it's pretty crazy how everything works out.
But you know what? The one thing that people always say, like people said to me about, oh, you know, you're with this company just because they pay you this or pay you that. And I've been offered a lot of contracts, even when I was with Animal. Even when I left Animal, I didn't have a contract for a few months after I left Animal the first time.
Yeah.
And I got offered some other companies for more money than what Redcon offered me. But I was like, I couldn't go with a company that I don't believe in. You know what I mean? Like, I think Animal was a good company. I think Redcon was a good company.
Yep.
And same thing with HD. Like, I wouldn't be a part of HD unless I thought it was something. Well, I know it is because it involves you and my people that we associate with.
Yeah.
But I've been offered many contracts over the years for stuff, and I just turn it down. Like, it's like I want my word to mean something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
So
I think the most important thing, right, is like standing for what you believe in. That's why like our slogan is like integrity is everything, because I think that's something that sort of gets lost today, right? People just look at the short-term gain, right? They see the small picture, where it's like there's more to it than that.
Well, same thing with like Instagram and stuff like that. There's many things I could do. I guess I could have got more followers or made more money or whatever. But at the end of the day, I really thought about it, and I was like, you know what? When I die, I want my name to actually mean something.
Yeah.
Like that. So someone's gonna say something good about me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, hey, everything this guy talks about, he believed in. He didn't do it just for a paycheck. He didn't do it just to be popular.
Yeah.
He did it because he, and then the reason why is because I think my dad taught me that, and my dad's passed on now, and it's like I still got this weird feeling like he's watching me, and I like when I make a decision, I think about, hey, what would my dad be proud of me doing?
Yeah.
So it's like,
absolutely.
I've gotten offers. I actually talked to you about stuff when I got offered money and stuff like that, and I say, hey, what do you think of this?
Yeah, just the one the other week, right? Someone was paying a couple $1,000s. They wanted you to post, some competition that they had, but it's like you didn't want to do it because you didn't know enough about who that was, what they're representing. It's like, it's not worth it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And actually, even today, I got a message from somebody, some other country, asked if they'll sponsor me to say I use their steroids, their drugs, or whatever. And I was like, no. I don't know who the hell you are. I don't know what this is. And I was like, I'm going to tell these young guys or other guys, oh yeah, I use this my whole career. I use this, and and I use it now, and I'm like, some guy could take it, it could be fucking bullshit or make someone sick or something. I'm like, I don't want that in my conscience. And it's like, well, I just can't. I can't live like that.
No.
It seems like there's like that's all that Instagram is, and all social media is just people whoring themselves out to brands, right? Like,
it's hard not to, because everybody wants to be popular, everybody wants to be famous, everybody wants the money now, and it's like, yeah, I mean, trust me, I want money, I want to be popular, I like it, but at the same time, what's it going to cost you, right? Yeah. At the end of the day, and
People will see through that too, though. People will see through that. Like if you were the type of guy who's like, yeah, I'll say this about that, and I'll say this about that, I'll say, but it's like then. It's like, yeah, you're making tons of money and you're popular, but it's like everyone's like, oh, this guy changes his mind like the fucking weather. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Well, that's like most bodybuilders that go back and forth to companies. Like, next week they're with somebody else and somebody else and somebody else, and it's like, holy shit, guys, what are you doing? Like,
yeah.
I mean, I could have done that in my career, because even when I was with Animal first, I got offered contracts more money than what Animals give me. But I was like, I'd rather have something long term and something that I believe in, and I think they're like a good company. You know what I mean? I just can't. I can't bullshit.
No, and we even see that, right? Like, with Only HD Muscle, it's like with athletes that represent us. We even see there's a different connection with athletes that have been, let's say, for example, there's someone that's never been with a brand, and they've done a great job at building their following, and you know what I mean? They have a really great outreach. If they haven't been with a brand, it's like the loyalty of their fans, they have like a stronger influence on them than others that have just a big of a following, but have maybe been with, in the last 4 years, maybe they've been with 2 or 3 brands. It's just different. So
yeah, exactly.
It goes a long way. Oh, it does. Absolutely. Yeah.
So
crazy.
I find that's the difference these days. Everybody's out for a buck or a like or a follow or just to be popular, and you'll do any. I can't. I look on Instagram, and I don't know why, but I talked to Dorian about it. I don't really talk to too many people about it, but like some people that annoy me about how fake they are on Instagram, and I'll talk to you about it, but I don't really talk on Instagram about it. But they'll do anything to like get a follower or get another sponsorship or something, and it's like, man, like what's the cost of that? Your soul? Would you sell your soul for?
Look, it seems exhausting.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I can't imagine. I'm exhausting just being myself. I can't imagine being somebody else online.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's
crazy, man. Yeah, I know. It is. It's crazy how fast things are changing now. Like we were talking about Animal, and when I was with them in 2014, I was kind of there the tail end of that sort of old school mentality, and they had the forum, and they want us to post on there. And then it's like just how much has changed since then. It's like with social media and Instagram, and it's like it's just crazy how fast things are moving. Even from 2-3 years ago, it's like things you constantly got to be on the ball and just adapting and learning the new trends, and it's a full-time job,
Yeah, it's crazy because the way especially when, bodybuilding, back when I started, you had to be a good bodybuilder pretty much to make any good money. Like you had to be a top-level bodybuilder. Or even, it used to mean something to be a pro. Like when you turn pro, it was kind of a big deal. Like, holy shit.
Yeah.
And the problem is that some people don't realize now turning pro don't mean fucking shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
It does. I mean, it's a great accomplishment. Don't get me wrong. But it doesn't mean you're going to make money, because people think you're going to turn pro now, and all of a sudden you should be like a superstar. You should be getting paid tons of money, whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's just not the way it is anymore. It's about being popular now. People.
What do you mean, man? You can put it on your Instagram handle now.
I'm going to put IFBB.
It's priceless.
Yeah.
IFBB Pro.
Yeah. No, I'm going to put Olympian.
Olympian. Yeah.
There you go. That's a good one too.
I can't do that, man. I think I get it. People are really proud of it, and they want people to know. But it's like, I don't know. I just.
Yeah, but if you're worth a shit as a pro, people know already. You don't need to tell them.
That's what I'm saying.
I don't have to put Frank McGrath IFBB Pro. Like
they
shit.
Know. They should.
Thanks,
know.
Man.
They should know.
It's like you're right though. Same thing. It's like Mike doesn't go around telling everybody how big he is, but Mike's fucking big as a house.
Yeah.
It's like, why do I need? I don't need to talk about it. It is what it is. You know.
Yeah.
So. I never understood why people had to talk about themselves or make. It's like me talking about like, man, did everybody see my veins today? Holy shit! Like, no, they're there. Fucking, I don't need to point it out and tell you guys. You know
it's pretty evident.
It just seems like too, like a lot of, like we were talking about the Instagram people doing anything for likes and stuff. It's like me and Dorian have spoken about this because I always bouncing shit off of him of like horrible shit I see or stupid shit that's going on. But it's like everyone's like, the only thing worth posting is if you're doing something as heavy as possible. Or like I did like a fucking 7-plate deadlift or a fucking this much squat or this. It's like, cool, man, but you don't do that shit every day. That's not like the nuts and bolts of what you do. And I'll be the first to admit, like, bodybuilding as a sport to watch for the outside world is boring as shit. Because it's monotony and it's the same thing all the time, and being consistent and doing the work and the volume and doing this. So I get you don't want to show that because people are like, what the fuck? But like, but people do want to see that you're living what they're living, because like the same people that are following you are doing that monotonous shit. Yeah. So if they see that you're able to do that and you're able to make it interesting or you're able to like enjoy it, then they're like, okay, well, I'm on the right path. But then they see like, oh, but one day Frank squatted 8 plates for fucking 4 reps, so I need to get to that. That's how he got huge. Yeah, it's like that must be what he does all the time. It's like everyone saw Ronnie squat the 8 plates in his video for the 2 or the 3, whatever it was.
He doesn't do that.
The motherfucker didn't do that every day, guys. No. Like he did 5 plates, 4 plates, which is relatively easy for him because he's a fucking strong dude, right? But that's where he put the work in. But he made that one video of him doing parking lot lunges with 2 or 3 plates on the bar and then squatting this and that. He didn't all do that all on the same day.
It's a highlight reel, right? You're showing the most impressive thing to get engagement, to get likes. I mean,
but you can't. But it's not sustainable.
No,
you can't keep doing that.
No, I know.
So like, talk to people about like what's going on when you prep. How do you feel? Some days when you go to the gym, you don't feel like working out. Like, how do you overcome that? Or like, you know, if you're having issues with this, try doing things this way. It's like that's more beneficial to people than being like, I lift fucking big. You want to get big? Lift fucking big. It's like,
it seems like Instagram, the things that you see trending or exercises are either like crazy heavy lifts, or just like super stupid.
Like you can't even replicate it. You don't even know why the person did it to begin with. Like, I fucking did a squat up into a bicep curl, up into an overhead press, and then I did a burpee. It's like,
well, how many times can someone watch me do forearms or something until they go, okay, I had enough? Unless it's someone who's really into it. Yeah. You know what I mean? But like you said, for the general public, like, okay, I saw this guy do forearms last week. I don't really give a shit anymore. You know what I mean? I'm bored. Yeah. But like, I just think too, it's like people want to realize that you're like you're human and you still do normal things like everybody. Like, I used to post about eating cookies all the time. I used to eat a lot of cookies, and all of a sudden everybody's sending me like, everybody's, oh my god, he eats cookies. Like, we're gonna eat cookies too. And it's like same thing. Everything you do, like they like what kind of car you drive. To like, even when I started getting tattoos, some people hated it, but some people were like, oh man, like they liked me more because I got tattoos. It's like
finding things to people want to find things to relate to. You know what I mean?
I like to play video games. I got a small dog. Like, you know how many people send me pictures of their little Yorkies or the little dogs all the time? Like, constantly, I get pictures of dogs. Yeah. Like, I got this one's right here next to me. You know what I mean? Yeah. No, so and they see the way you're living, like, oh my god, I do that too. Like, I do the same thing. This guy's like they look at you like you're, not normal. I guess because you're a big guy and pro and popular and stuff like that. And it's like, I think they have this image that you're not like a human or something sometimes. Yeah. Like, you have no problems. You're never in pain. I'm always huge. I'm always ripped. There's veins always 24/7. Yeah. That's what people think. You know what I mean?
Yeah. They're like, why is Frank always so vascular and I'm not? It's like, no, you go through periods of time where you asked me, you're like, what the fuck? I was super vascular like an hour ago and now I got no veins. Yep. It's like everyone goes through the same shit and has the same responses and
sometimes I could be in the gym training. I'm like, and it could be no veins. It happens to me sometimes too.
Yeah. But like, again, on social media, you're not going to put out pictures of you with no veins in the forearms. The ones you put out are when you look crazy. It's a highlight reel, right? Same thing when people put their progress pictures and say they set their camera up and they go through their posing and they take snapshots of the perfect exact second in time, where meanwhile there's probably 800 other shots in there where they look like dog shit. But they're posting the ones. Then everyone thinks, oh my gosh, everyone else, this guy's so perfect. He looks so good in every shot. But
dude. When I take my selfies in the bathroom in the gym, I'd have to be about 100 of them, man. Yeah. So it's like, okay, I'll do something so it looks like I have an ab.
Find that perfect lighting.
You know what I mean? Which arm should I use?
Yeah, that's That's the reality of it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. I wanted to talk a little bit about because even when we first met back in 2011, you shared with me coming up through bodybuilding when you did your first show. And I was like blown away. I was just like, I don't understand, because like by the time I got into it, the internet had sort of come a longer way. There was a lot more coaches that were available online with things like, Facebook and, all the social feeds starting to really, pick up. So like I worked with a lot of like, Hani Rambod and a lot of these guys that were like, I learned from, right?
Yeah.
And, when you were coming up, there wasn't much on the internet. There wasn't much information available to you. There was no going to see your doctor for blood work. It was basically like probably you at the gym talking to a buddy and him being like, yeah, man, you should use this and a little bit of this. And I remember...
That's exactly what happened.
Yeah, so for the Nationals, when you got your pro card, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember you telling me, you were like, all I used for that show was like a bottle of Prop and a bottle of Winstrol. And
Clean.
And then when you weren't really following much of a diet, and when you landed, I remember you told me you were starving, so you grabbed yourself a couple cookies from the vending machine and then headed to the weigh-ins.
Yeah. Well, I was getting ready for that show, and I was 7 weeks out from that show, still natural.
Wow.
And because I lived in Newfoundland and it was hard to get anything. And,
but you had done had you done prior cycles before, but just like 7 weeks out?
Yeah, probably like 3 or 4 cycles of my life at that point. I was 25.
Yeah.
And it was 7 weeks out, and I didn't have a lot of money. And finally it came. And I just did Winstrol and Pro and Klein for 6.5 weeks, I think it did, until the day I left.
Yeah.
And there was no... I never weighed food. I never added salt. I never added fats. I didn't count carbs.
Just ate and trained.
That was it. I just did cardio. I just, like that to me was like, that's all you do. No one told me any different except for the guy I knew from the gym.
Yeah.
And like I said, when I got to the show, I mean, I'm not the most best person for dieting. And Dorian knows that.
Well, I think it's just old habits, right? It's because you're able to accomplish your pro card without really following one, right? Where most people have to be on a really strict diet and a deficit in order to get those types of results, where you genetically are just, at such an advantage where you didn't have to go to those lengths to get peeled. So,
yeah. I mean, like I said, like the day before the show, I had a bag of chips, a cookie, some candy and stuff like that, and I didn't even know. And then I just ate steak and yams every single meal. And at one point, just say, "Hey, don't drink no water." I'm like, "Okay." I didn't do any sodium, no nothing, and just walked out on stage. And
this was just like a buddy from the gym helping you, right?
Yeah, and he wasn't even there.
Okay, he'd done some local shows, so it wasn't like you sent him pictures. He was basically just like, "Yeah, let's do this now.
Just keep eating."
Yeah.
Don't stop eating.
Oh my gosh. So it's crazy how times have changed now, right? Like most competitors are, with their coach hour to hour at the national level, talking to their coach, how you feeling, how you looking, measuring this, measuring that.
It's almost like now there's like analysis paralysis though. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's a lot of guys like yeah, obviously what you did is like it's way out in left field to people, right? But like to a lot of people now they're kind of overdoing it a bit. Like they're not just just let it happen. Do you know what I mean? Like, and all this, like, I understand, like, at the last minute and the last days and the last hours, like, there's little tweaks you can do to cause this, cause that. But, like, the basic rule is, like, if you are not in shape, it's not going to fucking matter. So
nothing's going to fix that. Yeah. Nothing's going to fix that.
I call it hocus pocus, right? Yeah. At the very end, everyone's looking for some fucking magical.
It's like, I put the fucking this in the last 2 days, and look how much I dried out. I put Halo in, and look what happened to me.
It got harder.
No, man, just fucking get in shape and be in such good shape that it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like, that's one thing too. I remember I was supposed to take a diuretic. I think I told Dorian about this, and I didn't know anything about diuretics. Never took a diuretic in my life. This is with the Nationals, and so the guy knew Greg Kovacs. He said, "Hey, man, my buddy's competing. You mind giving him a diuretic because he doesn't have any." So I know who Greg was, but I didn't he's kind of a big deal back then, right?
Yeah,
so
at that time he was like super popular, right? In all the magazines.
Yeah.
400 pounds.
And I'm at my this is my second national, my third show ever, my second nationals. And I'm like kind of like nervous, and like everybody's fucking like I'm looking up the middleweights and they're taking their clothes off. I'm like, holy shit, these guys are bigger than me, and I'm fucking super heavy. What the fuck? You know what I mean? That's how I felt, right?
Yeah.
And I seen Greg, and he was training a guy for the show, and I said, hey man, like you talked to my buddy. He's like, oh yeah. When this is over, I'll get it for you. You come to my room and we'll get it for you. I said, okay, thanks, man. And so I remember Ron Partlow was there, and we're like, taking our stuff off to go weigh in and stuff, right? And I took off my stuff, and I remember everybody would just start staring. And I didn't understand what was going on. And even I got on a scale, I weighed 227.5. And Ron Partlow was like, man, you look like 250. What the hell is going on? And I remember Greg looked at me. I turned around, got my clothes back on, turned around, him and his client were gone. Didn't even wait.
He didn't want to give you that diuretic, eh?
He didn't want to because I was already ready. I was in shape. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like so.
Yeah.
And I never saw him again.
Wow. That's crazy, man.
So it's weird, like people like, not that he didn't owe me anything, but like I think he just saw like I look good, and he was like, oh, he had his other guy was in like light heavies or heavyweights or something.
Now I wonder, but I wonder if his reasoning was he looked at you and he was like, okay, this guy looks so good, he don't need this, or he was like, fuck, this guy looks so good, I don't want to help him get any better.
I would say
that's
it's the
what
second.
The second, yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Right.
But you know what? I don't think I'm not trying to brag or anything, but I got a perfect score that show. Perfect score.
That's awesome.
And I remember there was guys there backstage, and guys were like, we're getting ready for the overall, and a couple of guys that were knockout classes were like, their buddies were like, this is your show, man. No one looks as good as you, and I little guy from Newfoundland.
Fuck, that's awesome.
So it's pretty funny,
and then
especially when I didn't even think I was going to win. Like, I was just like, oh, my God, I won my class. Holy shit. And then when they called my name for the overall, I'm like, you sure? Me?
That's cool. And when did you do your first pro show? Was it the next year?
Next year, I did a Toronto Pro, and I didn't take the diet too serious that time. I know that because I was 240 on stage.
Again, no coach, just your buddy.
Yeah, just my buddy.
Yeah.
Same thing. I still living in Newfoundland, and I was a lot bigger, just wasn't as lean. And I think I got 12th to that show.
Yeah.
But like, I remember when the show was over, I stayed backstage watching the overall, and everybody else left. And in the magazine, they wrote about me standing backstage, watching, that I was like learning from the pros. You know,
taking it in.
Yeah, but I really was, because I was like, holy shit, I love bodybuilding. I wanted to watch you win, so I'm like still a fan. You know what I mean? I got 12.
Yeah.
But I'll stay and watch. I got the best seat in the house there. I'll just watch here from the side. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I remember they wrote that about me in the magazine. I thought that was pretty cool.
No, that is cool.
Yeah,
that's cool. And then it was like, so after that, you basically, I think the first coach you ever worked with, like hired, was it Hani?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And that was like basically your comeback show, like after your accident.
That was 2011.
2011. Yeah. So that was when we met. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was after my car accident and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I was getting better back from the car accident. I was starting to gain some weight back, and I was like, maybe I should try to give this a go again. You know.
Dude, I remember seeing you that year when you had your accident. I saw you at the Arnold's. Or no, was this the year before? Okay, we hadn't met yet. It was before you did the Toronto. It was like a year before we met. I remember you were wearing the black and yellow Tex shirt. And you were walking through, and I was like, fuck, that's Frank McGrath. I was like, I didn't know you got in a car accident. I remember you were like
pretty small.
Yeah, you were like, just looked like a normal dude with massive forearms.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the fuck? And then I saw you at the Toronto Pro, like 5 months later, you were like, on the Toronto Pro in the first call out.
I'm still like that too. Like, I get to the point where it's so hard to be from going from what you were to what you are, especially at that time when I got hurt and people seeing you and judging you and blah, blah, blah. It was really hard for me. It's hard to even to this day, but no, I contacted Hani because I said, I'm going to try to take this serious and do a real diet, real cycle, a real everything. You know what I mean? And I sent him pictures, and he goes, you need a whole year. He said, it was only 3 months. I had 3 months before the show. He said,
Wow.
dude, you need a whole year. Like, you need a whole year to gain weight, and you won't be ready. And I said, well, you know what? I want to try anyway. He's like, okay, cool. So he told me what to, get this, get that, get this. And then started getting kind of expensive. And he's talking about, like, why don't you take growth? And I was like, dude, I've never done growth before, and I can't afford it. And he's like, okay, well, you're going to be at a big disadvantage if you don't. I was like, well, I still want to try. I don't care. Whatever. And I got ready for that show, and I did everything he said. And like I said, probably the hardest I've trained. It wasn't like the heaviest I've ever trained, because I didn't train super heavy. Like I said, the way Mike trains, it was more for the pump more than I did anything. You know what I mean? Like, I was doing 20, everything was like, for legs, was like 20 reps on everything and supersetting stuff. And I probably wasn't as big as I used to be, but I just got ripped.
Yeah,
the
quality and separation was the best. I mean, your conditioning was, unbelievable for that show, right?
Yeah. And like I said, I only had 3 months to get ready for it, so I knew I still had areas that were lacking. Like, my legs needed more size, my back needed more thickness and stuff like that. But in 3 months, I got fourth at that show.
Yeah.
And to me, I might as well have won doing like, that's how I felt. Like, when I got first call out, I was like, holy shit, I never got first call out in my life except for my pro card.
Yeah.
So it was.
Do you feel like because like you got in the accident and like you sort of like, got a piece of you taken away, like you were forced to stop training and you were forced to downsize? Do you feel like that actually gave you a different drive to get in that type of condition, where if you hadn't gone through that, accident, you maybe wouldn't have mentally been able to, you know what I mean? Like, you want to prove Honey wrong, maybe? You were like, fuck that, I can get ready. You know what I mean?
I want to prove everybody wrong.
Yeah.
I want to prove everybody wrong, because I remember even people were talking about me saying, after I got in the car accident, people were saying that I was dead. Like, it was happening around the Arnold time, and everyone's like, oh, Frank McGrath's dead. This is the rumor going around. And, everyone's like, oh, he's finished now. Like, he's done. Even my own doctors told me, like, you can't do this no more. You need to do something else.
Yeah.
And they said, don't go back to the gym for a year. A year later, I was on stage.
Mm-hmm. Unbelievable.
Yeah, I definitely had this thing where I was like, I want to prove everybody wrong. And, like, I don't need to talk about it. Like, I never ever said it to anybody. But just inside me, like, I just wanted people. If I do it, I know I'll prove everybody wrong. I don't need to say anything, because the proof is in the pudding, kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was just driven every day to, like, I never made myself suffer so much in my life, like, with cardio and diet, and first time ever, like, eating fish and stuff like that. I didn't even know anything. I didn't even know how you're supposed to eat fish getting ready for shows and stuff.
Yeah.
That's how much I didn't know.
Yeah.
And
you just didn't have the guidance, right? I feel like people today, like, with the amount of information they even have available to them for free, all these coaches and doctors and people online just giving out free information. It's like you can learn a lot now, right? So it's like, even if you're on a budget right now, I feel like there's so much good information out there. So you can see, like, when you had that proper guidance, the question is like, man, how good would Frank McGrath have been if you had the guidance right from the start?
Yeah,
right?
I always tell myself to too, and I try not to get myself upset thinking about it, but it is what it is now, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I mean, when you had the guidance, you made it to the Olympia the first year you had a good coach.
Yeah, and I mean, I was never was 100%, like, never did like 100% off season. I've never done but I'm still happy with what I did, and still got pretty far, so I'm still pretty happy with it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I remember seeing you backstage at the Toronto Pro the year you came back, because I competed.
I know. I remember
I remember being like, this fucking guy is like so shredded. And I'm like, I had food poisoning and shit. I was fucked up. I didn't even know where I was. But I remember looking at Frank. I'm like, this dude's face looks like his skull is showing.
Yeah.
Like your fucking cheeks are like in here. I'm like, dear God. And then I was just looking around. I'm like, how fucking ripped is this dude? I remember seeing you like a few weeks out. I saw you in the parking lot at 365, and we were talking, and you're like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to be ready. And I was looking at you at the time. I was like, are you on drugs, bro? Like, you're not going to be ready? I'm like, your face is sunken in your skull. I'm like, how can you not be ready? Like,
but you know how it is, though. It's like,
you don't see yourself.
See exactly yourself. Yeah. Dude, I looked at you. When we were backstage, I saw you. I was like, holy shit. Mike's 300 pounds.
Right. Mike, I was probably in the corner like, where am I? What's happening? Am I all right? That's Frank.
And,
I know him. It's okay.
Yeah, I'm safe. I'm in a safe place.
Where am I?
So it's so weird though. But like when you see other people, it freaks you out because you don't know how you look, and you're comparing yourself to everybody else, and it's hard to tell, right? I just saw you, and I'm like, holy shit, this guy's like double what I am because you were.
Yeah.
I was 230, and I was like, I just didn't know what I looked like. I was like, okay, I look okay, but you know. I remember I was in the elevator and Arnett was in the elevator. And I'm like, holy shit! Like I gotta go on stage with this guy. What the hell am I doing?
Yeah.
The
Yeah,
thing
That's like
is,
a good lesson for like a lot of people who bodybuild. It's like it's not about like it is to an extent about your size. Like, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Like the big guy who's ripped and shredded is gonna win it. It's like you see like the biggest dudes, like they're not necessarily gonna be like the winning the shows. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's impressive and it's cool and like you see these fucking monsters, but it comes down to like your genetic, like your shape, your proportions, like how your body's put together, like, you know what I mean? It's like it's all about that in the sense that like.
Well, that's why I tell everybody. I know that I was like genetically I had a good over a lot of people. Like my genetics were pretty good for bodybuilding, and just being in shape, being shredded, like made me beat bigger guys. You know what I mean? That's what I try to tell Dorian too, because Dorian, I know Dorian himself, great coach, but he just doesn't see how good he looks himself. I think he looks amazing. But it's I think we're all the same way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, that was the first thing I sort of noticed about you when we started training. It was like, you know, I know you personally were always like saying how light you were. Oh, I'm only this, I'm only that. But the thing is, it's like, you know, 230-pound Frank McGrath ripped is, you know, a ripped 270-pound Antoine.
Yeah.
Because Frank's head is like about this big. His neck's small. His waist is like 28 inches. His bones are tiny. He's got a small, tiny frame with massive muscle.
Yeah, it's
where, you know, you look at Antoine's knee and you look at Frank's knee. Antoine's knee is 3 times the size. He's like a Viking.
Yeah.
He's a bigger person, right?
I tell you, Antoine's got the Flintstone feet.
Yeah, his feet, each foot weighs like 36 pounds.
Yeah.
You know? So yeah, it's like genetics, right?
But even I tell you, like the heaviest I ever got was 280. And
which I can't even imagine. Like I didn't get to see you when you were like that in the off season, but I couldn't even imagine how freaky you looked.
Nobody ever saw me like. Well, the people I'm friends with now never saw me like that. And like, I was just like, my diet was like 2 dozen boiled eggs a day. You know, a dozen at morning, dozen at night. Subway in between, 2 subs for lunch. Steak and potato, like the biggest steak you can get, and the most potatoes you can eat. Now, just
it's a lot of food.
There was just no science behind it. It was just eat until you're going to explode.
Eat, train, and sleep.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's why it was so hard for me. Like when I met you too, I was like, man, because I always wanted people to see like what I was like before. Because a part of me is like, you saw me look good, but you never saw me like, my crazies.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think one of my craziest times ever was after my last show. My last show I did, I just was totally a mess. Was not good. I was shredded, but it was just like I was like a pancake up there. But two weeks later, I gained 20 pounds, and I'm like, man, I should have went on stage like this.
I've seen some of the pictures. Look insane.
Yeah, the ones with the veins are just like even for myself, because I've always been pretty vascular. I was even looking at myself in the gym going, man, I'm freaking myself out here. Like it's kind of, I'm getting worried.
Damn, I look good.
Yeah. Well, you know what I mean? I don't like to wear tank tops. I would walk in the gym with.
You wore a tank top every day. Every day you wore a tank top for 3 weeks.
No pump or nothing. Just walk in the gym. I was like, this is not like me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
No, that's crazy, man. Yeah, I remember those pictures when you were down because you were living in Cali at that time, right? You were there for like a good 4 years. I remember that, and you took all those pictures. It looked fucking nuts. You could see your cheek muscles in your face. Yeah.
You know, I was so pissed. That was my last show, and I really wish that I had someone help me then that knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
But
what year was that? Was that 20? What year was that? 15? 15, right? Yeah.
It wasn't yourself for that.
It was Eric.
No.
Oh, Eric.
Oh, yeah. It wasn't until the next year. So 50. It was like 60. Like 17 was the first year I started really coaching. And I helped Antoine in 17. Yeah. So it was right before that. I remember you were like bouncing some ideas off me and telling me what you were doing. And yeah, it was pretty crazy.
I mean, I look great before the show, and then you know, like Mike was saying earlier, like you can mess up.
Sucked you too much. Sucked you dry too much.
Dude.
Pulled everything out of you.
Because if you don't know how my body works, like Dorian touched my arm the other day, and you even said how soft it is.
Yeah.
Like my muscles are very
tissue.
soft,
The
but it's
the fascia is like so. I could pull his fascia to here. This is like it's so stretchy.
Yeah.
So when it's
But the
empty,
thing is
it gets like flat and saggy. The muscle itself.
But that's why when I get a pump, like my arm can be like 3 inches bigger when I get a pump. That's why it's such a big difference.
It expands
So-
with glycogen so easily.
Yeah. So the fact that I was ripped, but I went on stage and so flat, it looked like I had no muscle.
Yeah.
You know
It's
what I mean?
empty.
And then it took me a whole week to even get back to being like not being flat.
Yeah.
That's how flat I was.
That's the thing. When you get to that state and you're dehydrated, your glycogen, it takes a lot to fill it back up, right?
Well, that's what I said. Like Michael was saying earlier too. Like just be in shape, and I don't think you need to change a lot when you're ready. Like there's a couple little things you can do: sodium, water, maybe. But like he changed so much stuff at the end that my body was just like, "What the fuck is going on?" and just did not respond well. I mean, I got 6, which is okay, but there was guys in front of me who didn't even have abs, and like I was like, "This guy doesn't even have an ab."
Yeah. No,
And
I remember watching that show. It was a Ferrigno, right? Was it Ferrigno Legacy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was pretty disappointed because I really put a lot into it. I trained really hard for it, and then just to be messed up the last few days was a pretty big disappointment, which shows you how it can go either way sometimes, right?
Yeah. It's
So
cool.
it is what it is.
Yeah, it's cool though how much experience you've sort of had over the years. You know what I mean? You trained here for the first, you were in Newfoundland for the first portion of your career. Then you were in Toronto area. Then you moved to Cali for 4 years, and then you were living with. In Boca with training with Flex Lewis there for a couple of years. Now back here. So it's pretty cool that when the last time Flex competed and won the Olympia, you were his training partner.
I was there. I can tell you too, because I got in pretty good shape when I trained with him because I just did everything he did and pushed him. And just never missed a day. Never missed one day. You know what I mean? And trust me, there's a lot of times I didn't want to be there, but I was like. I told him I'd be there every day. I made a commitment to like, hey, dude, he needs a training partner. He needs someone to help him. Not that he needed it, but like, he just want a training partner. Someone else that was going to train hard. And it was a great experience, man. I gotta say, I'm glad that the opportunities I've had to train with the people I've had.
Yeah, no, it's awesome.
Yeah.
It's funny to hear Frank say that now, because as long as I've known him, which is 10 plus years now, wherever he's been at, so he just said, oh yeah, I remember training with Flex and I actually looked really good. I remember at that time he would tell me, I don't get it, man. I look like shit. I don't look good. He's always so hard on himself.
But
right?
I always
and now he looks back and he's like, fuck, I looked really good. And then 2 years before that, I remember him talking about how shit he was. Always like your own.
You're always your own worst critic.
Well,
right?
because I always was like striving to be more. I always wanted to be more. And like, there was probably only a few times ever in my life that I looked at myself in the mirror and I went, okay, this is good. I can walk around the gym saying, I can act like I'm cool today. You know what I mean? Not very many times. Because I did look good a lot of times. Not to say I didn't. But I was always very hard on myself. And I think a part of that, though, it might be a bad thing, but in some ways it was good because I think it pushed me to keep going no matter what. Because I think sometimes if you're happy with how you look, then you get a little lazy. And not that I haven't been lazy before, but when I was getting ready for something, I would give it my all for just 3 months, but I wouldn't do it the whole year. Kind of thing. You know what I mean?
You needed you needed the shows to sort of like give you that push. You know what I mean? You needed the date.
I'm the same way as you because I remember I think a couple months back I was like looking through stuff at my house when I was moving stuff around and I found a picture of like after I won my pro card in Vancouver. I was on stage with my mom and I was like had my arm around her and I was like kissing her on the forehead. And I remember like always being like a massive fucking critic of my legs. I'm like, fuck, my legs are gonna get bigger. I'm fucking tall. They don't fill out. And I remember looking at my leg in that picture. I was like, motherfucker. I'm like, my legs were pretty good. But I looked down at the middle. I'm like, no, they're not. But in that picture, I was like, my sweep looks great. I was like, it's just because the shot was up at the stage.
No,
it's a good angle.
But it's the way it is. You look back now, it's hard to realize that, like, getting older and realizing this stuff is, you look back and go, man, why was I so hard on myself? Why didn't I enjoy looking like? I remember I used to have that point in my life where I would like have to wear a sweater all the time, and I was probably walking around 265, and I'm like, I'm skinny. I'm like, what the hell was I thinking? You know what I mean? I'd love to be too.
Even when Antoine was getting ready for like the Olympia this year, I was like, I wouldn't even tell him about anything because it's like it's not my job to tell you this or that or to look at this.
Yeah.
I just always tell him like enjoyment and enjoy every minute of this. I'm like no skies. I'm like I've never experienced it. I never will. I'm like no skies. I'll never experience like what you're going through right now. So don't be so caught up in like what's happening to my food. Just be there and just enjoy it. Like whatever happens.
It goes by so fast.
Oh yeah. And you're gonna look back at pictures and be like, oh, and like I'm like, but instead just be in the moment and enjoy that moment. And just like you're eating your food, you're backstage, look around at the guys you're with, like take it all in, man. Just fucking like drink it up and be like, man, this is fucking great. Instead of just being like, well, what's next? What am I gonna do next? Like when's the next show? It's just like just be there, man.
It's a short window, right? And it's like I think there's and I know, like, we've spoke about this before, but I think one of the hardest things for a lot of athletes, bodybuilders specifically, is, like, when you put so much into this sport and it's all you do day in and day out, and then you get to a point where it's, like, you have to evolve, and it's like, hey, I'm not getting better, I'm getting worse. I'm now putting stress on my body. It's like you have to have an exit plan because it's, like, one of the hardest things to sort of, like, do is, like, and I mean, I don't even think you ever retired officially, right, Frank? Because it's at a point where you're like, you still want to compete, right? You see that with so many guys. It's like they're still in their 40s, and they haven't even looked close to what they did 5-6 years ago, and they still have that hope of like, oh, I want to compete. But it's like, what are you trying to prove? Yeah, you've already, like, say, won a pro show or got to the Olympia. It's like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, you know what? I think it's like, especially for me, like, I don't think you ever lose if you really love what you're doing, like bodybuilding, because like a lot of people are doing these days to be popular. But like, I do believe there's still some people who truly love it. Like, I think bodybuilding kind of saved my life. Not that I was, you know, I didn't get into drugs or anything like that, but like, it gave me structure in my life. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I was like, when I was young, I was a skinny kid that got beat up every day going home from school, and the chicks didn't like me and all that, blah blah blah. And bodybuilding totally changed my life. Like, it gave me confidence and gave me something to strive for, because I quit everything that I tried before, sports and stuff like that. I just didn't.
Well, you probably didn't believe in yourself, right? And then once you started doing this, you saw the results and you saw progress, and you got that self-belief, right? To like know that, like, hey, this is my calling. I'm good at this. I can excel at this.
But when you start to like get older and you start to realize, like, hey, this is not forever. Like, you think it is when you're in the moment. You think, man, this is what I'm gonna do forever. I'm always gonna be eating steak and chicken and benching 500 pounds and blah blah blah. Don't get me wrong. I'm always gonna train. I'm always gonna be like a bodybuilder lifestyle. Like, I'll never change that. But I'm gonna have to realize, like, hey, dude, I can't do exactly what I used to do. I can't look like that forever. And people, that's the hard thing too, is like that people expect me to always walk around at 260, shredded abs, you know, like.
But I don't think people do. I think you expect.
Here's the thing. Here's the question. The question is, and comment below, do people feel like they need Frank McGrath's worth is seeing him peeled, shredded, and veiny all the time? Because I think it's more in your head than what the actual fans look at you and want to see. I think because you got so much, I guess we'd say, attention or whatever you want to call it along the way, from being jacked, being freaky, it's like that's what you attribute success to. But I think you have so much to offer the bodybuilding community with experience, and you know, I think there's so much more to Frank McGrath.
Even look like iconic guys that like all of us look up to, like Dorian Yates. You know what I mean? Like, Dorian's a shell of his former self. Like,
I wouldn't care if he has 16-inch arms or 21-inch arms.
Yeah, and it's like, but he'll always beat Dorian Yates.
Yeah,
it's not like it's not like, oh, if I met Dorian, like I have met Dorian post who he was, right? And it's just like the mystique and the aura is there. Yeah, it's like I never met Dorian when he looked like Mr. Olympia, but I met him after, and like I know that's fucking Dorian Yates. Yeah, do you know what I mean? Like, it's different. Well, that's so it's the same thing. It's the same thing with you, bro. Like, it's like when people meet you, they're not like, oh, it's like it's Frank McGrath. It's not like, oh, this is how he looked, and it's like, no, I'm meeting Frank McGrath. Yeah. So it's like whatever. It's like he is what he is now, and he was what he was then, and he was when he was this. It's like, it's like you've created an aura about yourself and a legacy about yourself that stands the test of time. So like never think that people are like looking at you like, oh, I want to meet this guy because he looks like this. It's like, yeah, man, because we got plenty of images and we got plenty of fucking video. We got plenty of this to know what you were, and people that meet you are just happy to meet you. Yeah. And knowing that you are everything you were before and you are what you are now, right? So it's like never get.
I think I do. I understand that. Like I do believe that, but sometimes I'm sure we all are. We're all so hard on ourselves.
Oh, of course.
Is that especially same thing when you saw your legs in that picture. You're like, damn, what the hell? Like my legs were so crazy.
No, I looked back thinking to myself, I'm like, and I was like you saying, like I shouldn't have been so fucking hard on myself. Like yeah. It wasn't like, I wish I still had that, or I wish I still. It's like, no, man, like I had that, but I wish I had a different mindset back then.
But isn't that crazy? Because like me and Frank were talking a while back, and we were talking about this and just expectations and getting older, and every year changes. You change as a human being, right? Yeah. And he mentioned like, yeah, but look at Mike. Mike's still fucking huge, right? And I'm like,
I did say that.
Mike is fucking huge, but do you think Mike looks at himself the way he did 12 years ago when he was fucking carved out and detailed and blown out? No, yeah, you're big.
Yeah, but I've always been a big guy.
Yeah, you're a big guy, right?
It's just like
I'm not a big guy.
Yeah, it's just my natural thing, and I'm like you, like and a lot of guys out there, like I stayed on stuff way too long. Like But the thing is, I gave myself a natural kind of break from everything because like my work that I do and with my traveling schedule and I was all over the place and I had injuries, like I had my hip surgery and I was just more concerned about just being like just functioning as a human being. I wasn't concerned about lifting weights. I was like in so much fucking pain with my hip and I was in so much like my body was all over the place. I was like, I just want to be able to move again. So when I had my hip surgery and I came back from that, I was using stuff here and there just to like, cause I knew I didn't want to like crash myself. Yeah, I didn't want to be whatever, so I was like taking what I would take stuff when I felt I needed it. Like I wasn't recovering. I was kind of like in a weird mood mentally, like, oh, I need some testosterone. Like I was never taking like too much stuff, right? I might take like a little bit stuff here and there, but like I was going through this like cycle of 3 or 4 years where I was like just taking stuff like instinctively. Like, oh, I feel fucked up, I'm gonna take some stuff. I would always take long-acting stuff because I knew I wasn't going to take stuff regularly, right?
Consistent with it.
So I think I gave my body a decent break. And then when I came back to, like, kind of being around this atmosphere and being around you guys, it was like, okay, well, now I can... And with, like, COVID and all this bullshit, like, I had a time where I had a downtime. And I could, like, really get back on point with what I was doing, right?
So you went from 270 to 318. I could
get blood work done. I could see how I was. Yeah.
You went from 270 to 318.
Yeah. I got down to like 265, like at my lowest, but I was like, and that was before COVID.
Yeah.
But then I just started like training again, eating again, like I was supposed to. I wasn't eating very well, right? But then when I got blood work done, like I showed it to Dorian, I'm like, I haven't had blood work done since I got my hip surgery, and even then it was just to make sure I was okay to get a hip surgery. I never looked at it, and my levels were like surprisingly decent for like considering the abuse I put my body through, right? In terms of like never taking breaks and stuff like that. So it's like it was encouraging, but it was also in my mind I'm like, okay, don't take it as too much of a good sign. Don't be going wild now.
You gotta be careful, and as you get older, your body's not as the ability to heal itself is not as quick as when you were 25 years old. So it's important on a yearly basis to do blood work, you know what I mean? And check those levels and make sure you're staying healthy and making the appropriate adjustments, whether it's nutrition, whether it's, you're taking drugs or whatever it is, it's
weird because like if you're a bodybuilder, it's like, I don't know if anyone else thinks like this, I'm probably fucked up, but it's like, I think to myself, I'm like, oh, I'm healthy enough to keep doing it. Like, not like, oh, I just better play it easy there. Like, it's like, I like saw the blood work and I'm like, fuck, I'm not that fucked up.
Keep going. I keep pushing it. Keep pushing it.
I can keep pushing this for a little bit longer.
I've always been the opposite. I do my blood work and I'm like, fuck. I'm like, this is up a little bit, and I panic, and I've always been.
I'm like, it's in a safe range, right?
Yeah. Cool. It's just out of range. It's not too bad.
Yeah, not that
bad. I never did blood work until I was in my 30s.
Yeah, me either. I never
knew. I never knew about that stuff.
Yeah, I remember I was like, when I first got into bodybuilding after I played football in college, I was cranking like ungodly amounts of stuff. Like,
Crazy.
it was like, I think back to like, what the fuck? Well, one, why was I taking shit that's like basically doing the same thing
Yeah.
in my body? Like, I'm literally doubling up on shit that I don't need to double up on, and like in the thousands and thousands of milligrams. And I'm like thinking back to like, I never had blood work done there.
It's crazy.
Ever. Like walking around, just blood pressure is probably through the roof. Like eating fucking everything in sight. I'm like, man, I must have had an angel on my shoulder.
Yeah, I know. It's important, right? Because everyone's body like is different. Like even me, for example, like I've noticed through doing blood work and just taking TRT that like my body for some reason, with testosterone, like if I take 150 milligrams of testosterone for TRT, my testosterone is like higher than some of my clients that are maybe using like 250 or 300 milligrams cruising. So it's like I don't need as much testosterone. I wouldn't really know that unless I was doing regular blood work, So over the years, I feel like one of my issues was, high red blood cells, hematocrit, hemoglobin, RBCs. And I feel like that is a long-term, I was taking too much testosterone for my body. I didn't need to take 750 milligrams or, you know what I mean? So when I was doing cycles, it was too much, right? So
I learned that from when I got my board work done, I bounced the ideas off you because like I had a basic understanding, but I have no idea like how to like manage these things. So that's why I showed stuff to you, and I was like, I started really listening to Broderick when he was talking, like going over different stuff he would say, and it just made a lot of sense to me. Like I back in the day, I've done as much as like 3,000 milligrams of test in a week.
Isn't that crazy? Like it's unbelievable. I can't even imagine how.
And I was doing like massive amounts of EQ on top of that.
Wow.
So it's EQ and test for my drugs. I had no idea that they like fucking basically cancel each other out.
Man, I couldn't.
I remember one time I tried to do that much test because someone tried to get me to do that much test, and I couldn't even get that much in my body. Yeah. I didn't have enough spots. You know what I mean? To put it.
Yeah, it was.
So I just like.
It was crazy.
But you know what? I didn't get any better results when I took more than when I took less. It didn't make a huge difference.
No. I always felt like my sweet spot, like when I was competing, was like 750 to 1,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like after like later on down the road, I realized like, man, like, I'm really not getting anything out of this other than a fucking bad mood and like feeling sad for no reason.
You can't fucking sleep. You know what I mean? All these other things that are so important go to shit, right? Yeah. Where I feel like it is about finding that sweet spot for you and not taking any more or less, because like there's just gonna be unwanted effects that come along with that, right?
Yeah. No, like I feel great on the dose I'm on now, which is basically sports TRT, I guess you could say. So I mean, I feel, and it's drastically lower than anything I've ever done.
Yeah.
And I feel better. I mean, yeah, I'm not like manhandling weight like I used to, and like picking up 300 pounds like, this feels light today. Like, no, it feels heavy. Feels heavy every day.
Like we're around the same age, right?
Yeah,
I think, right?
Yeah.
That's same. Like, so for me, like one thing I try to tell myself lately too is that I even need to enjoy how I look right now, because I'm not in bad shape right now. I'm like 240, not in too bad a shape. But I know that there's someday I'm going to be like 60 and 70 and looking back when I was this age going, man, I look great. What was I worried about?
Yeah, no,
so
you should.
I shouldn't be. I'm trying to. It's like going out. Like when I was younger, I wouldn't go places. I wouldn't go to parties. I wouldn't go places because I felt small, and I was probably 260 or 250 or something.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, what a waste of like being like that. Like, dude,
it's funny though, because it's like as bodybuilders, our reference range of what we should look like is very skewed, right? Because if you were to go up to like an average guy, like say you walked into a patio right now and sat down to eat at fucking Kelsey's or whatever down the street, right? Like to the average guy who's just an average dude who may be like 210 pounds, like not that that's average, but like he works out, he takes care of himself, like he thinks he's doing, you know what I mean? You walk in there and even now as you sitting here walk in there, he's like, holy fuck. Like, well, and his girlfriend and his friend and his girlfriend is like, oh, like,
yeah.
Who's this guy? But like your frame of reference is so skewed because you're hanging out with dudes like Flex Lewis, man.
Yeah,
and like
the best in the world.
You're fucking
right?
hanging out with Antoine and Dorian and Quentin, and like it's like, man, like
aside from me.
Fuck, I don't feel that well. Yeah, you're not. But like you're also they're also gigantic fucking human beings who are like 26 years old.
Yeah, that's what I said to Frank. I was like, dude, it's all
for you
relative.
to compare yourself to that is like
It's
you
all
got a
relative.
weird reference range, bro. Like you go walk into fucking Sobeys right now, and walk around the aisles, and people will be like, "Yo, did you see the monster in fucking picking out rice over there?"
Yeah.
Like
it just happened to me a couple days ago. So I was at the grocery store, walking around, and like, you know, I didn't feel great, but I was like, you know what, I'm sick of hiding. I had a pair of shorts on, just a normal t-shirt, and I was just like going around, and this one of the guys working there, he comes up to me, he goes, "Hey, me and my buddy were just talking about you. We want to know how old you are." And I said, I'm going to be 43, you know, in August. They're like, "Oh my God, we thought you were, you know, younger than that." And he said, "Man, your build, your forearms, your calves, your this," and they were going on and on and on. And I was like, "What?" And of course, in my head, I go, "Well, what if I walked in like the way I was before? Or what if Mike walked in or something?" That's how my brain thinks a lot of times too. Is like, because I just think not to try to compare, but it's like I expect always the highest level for myself. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And when you're not there, it's tough. It's a battle in your own head to like realize you can't be this guy forever. Like you cannot. Like I'm always going to train. I'm always going to try to be my best shape, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm starting to realize, hey man, like, I should be happy where I'm at right now. That I'm actually still training after all I've been through and the injuries I have.
Yeah, for sure.
I've gone through a lot.
It's all perspective. You know what I mean? And it's like we were talking before about like how you looked at Dorian and stuff. And someone that like me growing up, I've always looked up to and actually became friends with him is Jay Cutler. And like it's really cool for me now to see Jay evolve and go from being the best in the world to comfortably downsizing, still training, living the lifestyle.
But the thing that's
eating his
weird
meals.
about when you're hanging around Jay is like you can see what it was.
Yeah.
Like, and I've been in the car with Jay. Like, I've been in Vegas. He's taking me around to gyms, and like, he's come to like my work with me, and like been backstage and things like that. And it's like, you still like, it's like you see that motherfucker was like.
Oh, you could see. He's
you
ready
know
to
what
explode.
like you know what that was, right?
It's,
like,
yeah, just the
that doesn't disappear.
muscles.
Like the fucking back from behind. You're like, holy shit, dude! Like the calves, like. You know what I mean? So it's like
even his legs are still nuts.
Oh, obviously everything.
But I mean,
like,
you got to think though. For Jay though, with Jay looking at himself when he was 275 peeled, and now he's 230 pounds, not as lean as when he was 275. He probably feels puny, but it's all perspective.
Yeah.
It's all relative.
It's also like you got to like sit back and like kind of. It's okay as you get older to like look back and be like, man, like that was me, and I was really happy to look like that then. But this is just me now, and like I'm cool with this. Like, I still get to lift. I still get to lift weights. I still get to feel a pump every day. You know what I mean? It's like, and like you can't be comparing yourself to like the fucking big Ramis and the fucking. Because these people are like, they're in their prime now, but they're going to be in the same spot as you some point.
Yes, exactly. I think there's like, for me, if I was a pro bodybuilder and I'm going to be 45 years old, mid 40s, I would like to be able to just go back to, say, using a cruise dose, still train, and still show people that, hey, that was a part of my life. I was one of the best in the world. I was a pro bodybuilder. This is me now. And I'm still able to do what I love and be healthy and look good. Yeah, it's not the blown out biggest version of me, but like when I look at Jay, I look at that and go, fuck, that's awesome. I want to be like that when I'm his age.
Yeah, but even those people, like when they look back to when they looked their best, like you have to think back, like when I looked like that, was I as happy as I think I should have been?
No, you probably always wanted more.
Just like, no, thinking about the next thing, thinking about the next thing. It's like,
well,
it's a progression, right?
The one good thing about it right now is like I'm getting better at being able to where I'm at, and I'm being happy with it. But like this, it's good thing too is like it kind of takes the stress off now. Like I don't have to like kill myself in the gym. Like don't get me wrong, I still train hard.
Yeah,
but
you're
like,
always
I don't
gonna
have to,
love
like,
that.
Yeah, but I don't have to like do 10 plates a set on leg press or 5 plates on bench. I'm like the stress of that. It's kind of like feels good to not have to worry about that more. Because like when I was younger, if I couldn't bench 4 plates for 10 reps, I was like I was so mad at myself. I was like fuck. It ruined my day.
Yeah, I know.
And now like as long as I get a pump and I'm like I look good, I'm happy. You know what I mean, I don't care about the. I mean, I'm not saying I don't care about the number at all what I'm lifting, but I don't care as much. Let's say that. Like it's not that big of a deal. Like compared to what it used to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I think people need to realize that things are changing. You have to adapt to getting older. It's like I don't understand. Like the only thing I don't understand is like there's some guys out there that were the best in the world, and then when they can't be that no more, they totally give up. Like I can't do that. Like
I can't relate to that either because I started working out for the love of training and working out and like, you know what I mean? I didn't do this. You didn't do this for a paycheck. It's like you did this because you love this. You'll do this until the day you die, right?
Yep.
So
exactly.
where I feel like those people that like, oh, bodybuilding's done, I'm retired, and they stop training, and you're like, what? Like, did you really love it?
That's what makes you a part of like this community that people like, not even bodybuilding, just fitness, right? Like, and you've seen it like with all the stuff that's gone on in the world, like the last year where like gyms have been shut down and people have had to like resort to working out at home. It's like you see that like even the people that have the right mindset or they really enjoy working out, they found a way to do it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what like binds us all together. It's not about like everybody you see at the gym on an average day, like not everybody looks like an Olympian. Do you know what I mean? Or like competes or whatever, but like they're all there busting their ass, and that's the enjoyment that people get out of it. It's like the camaraderie of like I enjoy working out, I enjoy kind of killing myself in the gym, and that's how I function.
It's a
That's
lifestyle.
what gives me structure, right?
Well, I can't imagine not having that feeling of work. Like I worked out last night. I went in late last night because I was lazy all day, and I finally said, no, I'm going to go, even though I didn't want to. I did shoulders, I did calves, and I left, and I felt so much better.
Yeah.
And I felt a sense of accomplishment too. And like I've been back on my diet lately, and I'm really putting more on. Now that I'm at this stage of my life, I'm more thinking about my health.
Yeah.
Make sure I don't blow my shoulder out or my knee out or something. You know what I mean? I still train hard. I still will do like. I mean, I train with Dorian and Regan and Cody and the guys and stuff like that. And I trained with Mike once, and like. I felt like I could still kind of keep up, you know what I mean? It made me feel good. Like, I didn't do exactly what he was doing, but I was like, man, I can still do this. You know what I mean? I'd still be happy and be a sense of accomplishment that, hey, I just did this workout. I got a great pump. You know what I mean? Like, it's a good feeling to know I can still do that. But it's like the stress of it, it's kind of gone away. But the only thing I do miss is the competitive side of like when you train with your buddy and you're like, so who's stronger? Who's can do more reps and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Like that stuff is the kind of stuff that I kind of miss because like, sometimes I'm afraid to push my body too hard because, like, if I push too hard on something, I feel like something's gonna like just.
Yeah.
Whoa, maybe I should be happy that my shoulder is at like 70%. But if I try to push it all the way, I'm gonna fuck it up.
Yeah, it's not worth it.
So it's just finding things that I can do hard, like the exercise that work for me. You know what I mean? It's like, it's like I miss benching, I miss squatting and stuff like that. I know Mike's not picking that stuff.
You got to get more workouts in with Mike.
Yeah, I
those movements.
I almost died the last one, so
yeah.
You know,
I think as you get older, it's just like picking your spots, right? Like, there's certain lifts that you're gonna have to maybe adapt to, or like, I'm not squatting anymore because I have this issue, but I can still hack squat a shit ton, and I can still push myself on leg press. It's just like picking your spots and knowing what's a good lift for you and what's not a good lift for you, and those are probably like ideas you should have had when you were younger as well, right? In the sense that like, I'm gonna like, because I used to be like, I need to squat, and the first guy I trained with, Joe, he'd be like, you need to squat, and like even back then I fucking hated squatting. Like I couldn't fucking stand it from the time I played football because it just wasn't something I was good at. Yeah. Like once I got in it and I got going, it was like okay, but like getting those fucking first like few sets in, I was like, oh my god, like what? Why am I doing?
There's
this,
just some exercises that we just have to accept that aren't good for our bodies. Like even yesterday, and I know better. I haven't done them in a while. Like lying leg curls. I have a herniated disc L5S1, and when I used to do it, I just didn't feel stable, and my pelvis, everything was shifting. And yesterday, training's been going good the last couple weeks, so I was like, you know what? I love lying leg curls. Like, I just love that movement. I was like, I'm gonna try it. I've been feeling good. Sure enough, do it. Feel something in my spine. Next morning, can't walk, and I have to accept that. You know what? I cannot do lying leg curls anymore. I'm going to do seated leg curls. The risk isn't worth the reward on that movement. We have 8 of them here. I love them. I can't use them. It's just a reality.
Same thing. Maybe I used to love Smith machine incline chest or shoulder press. That was my go-to. Like, and I was so strong at it.
Yeah.
And I like I said, Dorian, we trained lately, and like I can do the same weight as you do or Cody does on the machine, but when we go over to the Smith machine, I'm like, oh, my shoulder, it's not agreeing with me.
Yeah, hold on here. So, with that arm and the shoulder, what do you have? You have a torn tricep.
Oh, I got torn tricep here.
Yeah.
This arm, the tricep's torn up here. Rear delta's torn up here. Both shoulders are kind of.
I wonder why you can't
mean?
shoulder press.
but I can though. But I
yeah,
saying,
it's not comfortable. It doesn't feel the same way, right? It's
But
different.
the thing is, like, I could go over to the machine we use and do the same as you guys.
Yeah.
Same weight, same reps.
Yeah, certain movements that you're traveling through a certain path will be okay, right? But even remember, with my torn labrum, like I can't do any shoulder presses where my arm is back. I can barely even move my fucking arm back. Yeah. So to force myself in that position is just a no-no.
Yeah. Well, you remember we were in California during training one time. I remember we were doing chest at Ghost Gym.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I'll do what you guys are doing. And like, I'm not a big bencher like I used to be. I used to bench like, pretty decent. Like I did 5 plates before, and four plates for 12 was my best. I know, Mike, you're stronger, but it's good for a little guy.
I never want to do that again if that means anything.
But I remember Dorian. That's when Dorian was kind of in his phase of like being really strong, I think.
Yeah.
And he came out of California, and we were training with somebody, maybe Cal or something.
Yeah,
I'm
it was
sure.
Callum. Yeah.
And you were going pretty heavy, 4 plates or something, and like I couldn't do it. I was doing like 3 plates, and I was so pissed off. You're like, Frank, you got 2 torn triceps, half your shoulders torn off, and I'm like, I don't fucking care, man. I'm gonna do it. I think
I still have those clips on video, like on one of my phones or something from back then. That was like 2015 or 14 or it was 2014.
I got in my head, especially when I was still getting ready for shows and stuff. Even with those injuries, I was like, I don't care. I'm going to do this with half an arm. I don't care. I'll do it.
Yeah.
And I was like, whatever I got to do to make myself so shredded that this torn triceps going to look like more cuts in my arms or something. I don't know. I did not care about injuries. They did not matter to me. I was like, I will find a way. Like same thing with doing legs. I remember Hani had me a thing for my legs, and he knew I couldn't train legs super heavy. So it was like 20 reps on leg extensions, 20 reps on leg press, 20 sets on squat, 20 reps on everything. It was like, and it was just like and super sets. And it was like, it was a hard workout, but it was like, it wasn't as heavy as what I used to go. You know what I mean? And it was just adapting to doing something new that I could still push hard. You know what I mean? That's what I'm doing. Even these days, I'm still trying to find ways of pushing hard. Like the same effort is being put in, but with being smarter. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
No, absolutely. That's good.
But it's like I said.
Yeah, that's good. I think that's pretty much a wrap for today's episode, eh? Frank, thanks for your time today. Everyone, thanks for tuning in, everyone. Comment below, subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Thanks for tuning in, and make sure to drop a comment. Always love hearing from you guys. Till next time.
Yeah.
Later.